Try to tell myself, but I don't want to hear it. Seems like nowadays somebody's always got to clear it. Give me the okay rubber stamp, thumbs up, green light. Never sang a song, didn't I? You ain't gonna listen if I'm afraid to say it. You won't tap your feet if I'm afraid to play it. And if I can't be real, I promise I'll fake it. Besides, half you're gonna love it, the other half gonna hate it. But is that the country we live in, or what? Don't answer that. Reach for the rafters, swing for the fences. You're coming down the home stretch and bring them to their senses. First you don't succeed, you get the gist. Never there, you're never in, you never get kissed. Step in the gas, kick some ass up the mountain through the pass. I've met a lot of nice guys that didn't finish last. But you ain't gonna listen if I'm afraid to say it. You won't tap your feet if I'm afraid to play it. And if I can't be real, I promise I'll fake it. Besides, half you're gonna love it, the other half gonna flat out hate it. But not the country we live in, or what? Don't answer that. C'est la vie. Do-si-do, do-re-mi. We'll become overwhelmed, just a little short of confidence. But Orville Wright didn't have no pilot's license. Orville Wright didn't have no pilot's license. Think about that. Well, the show must go on, so on with the show. Once upon a time, long, long ago. Begin at the beginning. If you don't know where to start, you know, something about a horse, something about a cart. Give me a high five down low, not bad, good to go. Hike up your skirt and look out below. But you ain't gonna listen if I'm afraid to say it. You won't tap your feet if I'm afraid to play it. And if I can't be real, I promise I'll fake it. Besides, half you're gonna love it, the other half are gonna flat out, absolutely no questions asked. Hey, but that's the country we live in, or what? Yeah, no. Don't answer that. C'est la vie. Do-si-do, do-re-mi. We'll become overwhelmed and a little short of confidence. Orville Wright didn't have no pilot's license. Orville Wright didn't have no pilot's license. It's true. Well, I'm God-forsaken, and I'm well past my prime. And this old heart's aching, remember the time. I'm ripe for the taking, and I'm betting my last dime. Can't be a criminal if you don't commit the crime. But you can count your chickens before they're hatched. Start a fire without a match. Haven't even thrown it, you can still make the catch, just gotta get your glove on. You can still sing along if you don't know the song. You can still stick around once everybody's gone. You can be absolutely right when you're absolutely wrong and say goodnight to your darling all night long. C'est la vie. Do-si-do, do-re-mi. We'll become overwhelmed, just a little short of confidence. But Orville Wright didn't have no pilot's license. Orville Wright didn't have no pilot's license. Orville Wright didn't have no pilot's license. Welcome to the third of 4 fundraising online unplugged gigs for the Purple Rose Theater Company in Chelsea, Michigan. The Purple Rose Theater Company has been around for almost 30 years. It is a professional theater company. I founded it almost 30 years ago. We've been doing great. And certainly in the last several years, like any company, you come to this, and if you're lucky, and we got there, and we were at the top of our game when the virus hit. So these free concerts with donate buttons everywhere, every once in a while, but certainly, you know, that's us going, help the arts. The arts are this thing that we're all going to a lot now. Whether it's Netflix or binging TV series or reading that book that you always wanted to read, or it's a great place to go. And this is one of those times when the arts kind of steps forward and people go to them. And unfortunately, the Purple Rose Theater Company, like a lot of theater companies around the country, we sit shoulder to shoulder, just like baseball and football and hockey and basketball. And I don't know when they're going to let us sit shoulder to shoulder again. Probably has to do with the vaccine. And that could be a while. So this is me trying to make sure, to the best of my ability, that the company that I love dearly, that employs a lot of people, that brings almost yearly almost $4 million into a small town in the middle of the country. I remember Rocco Landsman, who was at the time, he was the chairman of the National Endowment for the Arts. And he made 12 site visits around the country. And one of them was the Purple Rose Theater Company. And he came in and he saw this 2-stoplight town. And I remember when we opened the theater in 91, if there were 25 businesses downtown, 10 of them were closed or for rent. And then when the theater came in, and then it took years, but we got going. People started coming. And then 40,000 people a year come to this little town to see a play. We sell 40,000 tickets plus a year. Now, for the businesses, that's 40,000 wallets and purses walking around before the show. All of a sudden, up pops restaurants, cafes, an art gallery, a boot shop, other live bars that have live music. Suddenly, it became this instigator to help commerce, and Rocco saw that. And he said, "You guys are the poster child for what the arts can do for a community." And so when the Purple Rose Theater closed its doors, like we have to, a lot of people are hit by that and hurt by that. So this is an attempt to make sure that when we come back, that we come back with the same people and with the same top of the game, approach. Hopefully we won't have missed a step. We'll see. It kind of depends how we do. If you do the social distancing, if you wear the mask, you pretend you're an outlaw, just do it. Just do it. I know for some of you it's like saying, well, I'm not going to let the virus beat me, so I'm just going to, I get it. But as you've heard, the virus doesn't care how tough you are or how tough you've been. It will get you if you're not careful. And so all I ask is that people be careful. I'm being careful for you. Do me a favor and be careful for me, because I can't get this. I can't. I'm of the age. I can't get it. So, years ago, I made a movie with Clint Eastwood called Blood Work. And it was one of those that Clint, he's the good guy, he has the gun, and I'm the bad guy, and, he's going to get me eventually, usually about page 85. There he gets me. And it was a great honor. I loved working with Clint. I mean, I put him right up there with working with Jack Nicholson on Terms of Endearment, and then again on Heartburn. And we did God of Carnage on Broadway, and Jack came to see it, came backstage. I mean, that's the best in the business do stuff like that, where they, they're here and they don't have to come back, but he does. And to work with people like Merrill or Jack or Clint has been one of the great honors of my life. And when you're the bad guy in a Clint Eastwood movie and he has a gun, there's a pretty good chance he's going to, kill you, which for an actor is a great honor. There's a room of actors who've been killed by Clint Eastwood. It's a big room. There are a lot of actors in it, but still, good to be in there. Bucket list kind of thing, The first time I met Clint, the first time I met him was at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am golf tournament. Now, that's that thing they do every February, and they let celebrities play with pros, and they televise it. And usually the celebrities, look like, we just choke. Not all of them. The guys that usually aren't working very much have better golf games. But I'm sitting in the breakfast tent before the first day where you get to go out there and play Pebble, and you're kind of, gee, I hope I can remember how to play golf. And all of a sudden, across the breakfast tent, I see Clint Eastwood coming. He's coming right, and he's looking right at me. And he's smiling. I'm going, oh. And he comes up, and he goes, Jeff? Yeah, Clint, yes. And he said, true story, I just saw Dumb and Dumber. I thought it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. I said, thank you. I am proud of that movie. I loved working with Jim Carrey. But I've done some other things too. And he's, the scene, the toilet scene. Now I think I'm in a Chris Farley sketch, Remember that scene? The toilet scene? Yes, sir. That happened to me. And then he turned and walked away. I met Clint Eastwood, and that's what happened. Years later, I'm on the set, and I'm getting ready to shoot the scene where he's going to kill me. And I'm a little nervous, as you would be. And we did it, and he couldn't have been nicer and more professional about it. And with Clint, you only do one take anyway, so I knew I only had to die once. So after we were done, and it was over, and I got up, and that was pretty good, brushed me off, walked down, I went back to my trailer, and I wrote this. Thank you. Well, I've had more than my share, brushes with greatness, but with all humility, I would have to rate this as the biggest of the big, the best of them all. My dream came true with a little telephone call. The end of my line, no joking, was the good, the bad, the ugly, the king of the unspoken. Make my day, blow me away, goddamn Dirty Harry Blues. He said, got this little project, got this little part about a serial killer with a cold heart. I said, Mr. Eastwood, I'd be so honored to play a bad guy. The only thing that make it better be if I, got to die. He said, well, if I had to guess off the top of my head, when all's said and done, one of us is gonna be dead. Make my day blow away, goddamn old Dirty Harry Blues. 30, 44, pull that trigger, Clint, give me what for. I'm a wanted man, dead or alive. Now don't give a damn if it was 6 shots or 5. Well, he's been around forever, still number one. Hell, there ain't nobody better at holding a gun. I thought about his movies, how you always learn your lesson, staring down the barrel of Clint Smith and Wesson. And now that golden door of opportunity has been flung wide open for little old me. Make my day, blow me away, goddamn old Dirty Harry Blues. Well, the closer we got to my fateful day, the more he'd stare, the less he'd say. I thought, this was only a movie, right? Couldn't help but feel something about this was a little too real. When they put on my makeup for the very last time, even the makeup girl said, it's a good day to die. Make my day, blow me away, goddamn old Dirty Harry Blues. 44, pull that trigger, Clint, give me what for. I'm a wanted man, dead or alive. Now I don't give a damn if it was 6 shots. Well, the sound man said we're rolling. Props gave him his gun. Someone yelled, action. Take one. He slipped off his shades and he squinted those eyes. I tried to tell the truth, but all that came out were lies. I said my final line. Clint said his. And he cocked back that hammer like he wasn't gonna miss. I wanted to cry like a baby, squeal like a pig. I was roasting like a marshmallow at the end of his twig. I was shaking like a leaf when his upper lip curled. And when he pulled that trigger, I was leaving this world. I thought, to hell with the Oscar and the Academy. That little gold statue would be wasted on me, 'cause my dream came true out in Hollywood when I got killed by Clint Eastwood. Make my day, blow me away. Make my day, blow me away. Make my day, blow me away. Got them, oh, got them dirty hairy blues. True story. True story. Fun. Another Clint story. We were shooting a scene where he didn't know I was the guy, the bad guy, for 2/3 of the movie, which is good. Because if you're the bad guy and you get killed on page 23, it's not as good. Speed. That was a Speed. Speed was a movie where the draft I got, I went driving around with Keanu, and then we were in the building, and then I fell down the elevator shaft, and that was it. Page 23. I'm going, the career isn't going great, but it's not going that badly, so I'm going to pass. And they go, no, there's a new draft coming. You die on page 80, which I took. Clint. So we're driving down the road, this 2-lane road, somewhere in California. And everything is just kind of, Clint's going, yeah, I got a car. So they don't have to go get it. And it's this old, I think it was an old cop car, but brown, I want to say Victoria something, a big old boat of a car. And he had used that car in Dirty Harry, and we were using it in Bloodwork. And I'm driving, and it's got a big old steering wheel and a lot of play in the, in the steering mechanism. Clint's in the passenger seat. The camera guy's in the back. And that guy's just leaning against with the camera. It's all handheld. And he's looking at me. And from behind me, he can see into my side view mirror. And he can see the camera. He can see himself. And that's one of those things where, Jeff, could you just move the side camera, the side mirror out so that, and then so that you don't see the camera. And I'm going, yeah, sure. So I'm like out here doing the side mirror. And because of the play and all of a sudden I'm floating across the center line on a 2-lane road, and I'm somewhere, and all of a sudden semi-truck, I see the word Kenworth, clear as a bell, because I'm in the wrong lane, and all of a sudden this hand reaches from across the passenger seat, and we pull back over, I'm like, wow. And I look at Clint, and he goes, that was close. I've been married 40 years. And I love my wife. And I love her the most when she goes on the red carpet with me, because she's surrounded by all these 28-year-old starlets who, will not look 28 for the rest of their lives, but, it's hard to be around all that magnificence and physical magnificence. And she's always, she works out, and I always tell her, you look beautiful, you look great. No, So I get it. And so I wrote her a song, kind of helped. Reflecting on your reflection, you are taken aback. You agonize about your own demise, how your armor's got some cracks. What seemed to be so right is now suddenly wrong. And all you want for Christmas is Ponce de Leon. I hate to break it to you, baby, you still got it going on. I said, hey, you're looking fine, Mama. She said, Papa, shut your mouth. Everything you think you see is on that train heading south. You say your ship has sailed. You say what's good is gone. Now you're just attuned to some old forgotten song. I hate to break it to you, baby, you still got it going on. Every start has got a finish, each beginning got an end. And there comes a day when even Dorian Gray gotta go round the bend. You feel like that old ugly duckling swimming next to the swan. You feel a little like a ripple next to Dom Perignon. If you could go back in time, if you could turn back that clock, put a little yin back in your yang, put a little tick back in your tock. Passing time's just passing away. Tomorrow's just the prologue for yesterday. I hate to break it to you, baby, you still got it going on. Every start has got a finish, each beginning got an end. And there comes a day when even Dorian Gray gotta go around the bend. You feel like that old ugly duckling swimming next to the pond. You swan, you feel a little like a ripple next to Dom Perignon. At the wreckage of your ruins, you've administered last rites. You mourn the depth of your undoing like some fighter too tired to fight. But Picasso could have sketched you. You could have modeled for Cezanne. You're still my damsel in distress in the palm of King Kong. I hate to break it to you, baby. Oh, hate to break it to you, baby. I hate to break it to you, baby, you still got it going on. Purple Rose Theater Company. You can watch for free, or you can help us, donate. That'd be great. Wouldn't mind that. $1, $5, 10, 20 more. Just shoot us some money to help us, you know, so that when on the other end of this thing, we're still there. That would be much appreciated. Thank you. I've been playing guitar since the 70s. And I know that the last thing the world needs is not only another singer-songwriter, but maybe we do need them now. But certainly another, you know, an actor who's not staying in his lane. I just did a, Zoom meeting with a friend of mine, Jason Dauntner, who was the stage manager for To Kill a Mockingbird. And he's working out at Disney now, and he's got this program where they get kids in the arts, you know, like 16-year-olds or whatever, and they want to be actors, and they're not at performing arts schools, they're at, you know, public schools, and they're working on it already, you know. And we got to see some kids, you know, do some monologues, you know, via the Zoom and all that stuff, and got to talk to them. And one of the things I told them was, in order to get where I'm at 43 years later, You need a lot of luck. You need talent. And then you need to learn the craft and the technique that goes around it. That goes with anything. You're working in the trades, you're working on the line, you're a teacher, whatever you do, you got to learn the craft of it. And I admire the people who never stop learning. And I told those kids that. I said, you know, you did great. Your monologue was great. I believed you. You were telling the truth, all that stuff that you tell actors. But also pick up a guitar or write poetry or get into sculpture or sculpting or painting. Look what Jim Carrey's doing, for God's sake, you know? I mean, I like the subject matter. I don't really care. But it's you know, the guys, I told Jim, and we were doing Dumb and Dumber 2, I said, go be an artist. My God, I'd seen some of his stuff. I'm going, go do it. You know, it's all comes from the same place. You know, we're that side of the brain that can't do math, but we can create and imagine and see things that others can't see. And so chase that. Whether you end up being a professional at it or you end up just doing it like I did with this, which was I put it in my apartment and it became my best friend because I was, you know, for 2 years in New York, it was me in a 10th floor window looking down at 23rd Street, wondering if I was going to get a part at Circle Rep this spring for $125 a week. And this was not this particular guitar, but it was actually a Guild D40 that I got at Herb David's guitar shop in Ann Arbor in '76, and still have it. But it becomes this place, this safe place. It never judges you. It demands a lot of you. And it's like an oasis. It's a creative oasis. That's what this has always been for me. And I never bought that, well, you can't do that because you're doing this. Never bought that. Don't buy it either. Doesn't mean you have to go make a career of it. But I've always been writing. And when I got around New York City and Circle Repertory Company, 1976, which was at the time a renowned off-Broadway theater company that did new American plays. And I was suddenly around all these writers, living, breathing writers, all of them trying to rewrite a second act. It was thrilling. So I would go back to my apartment, pick up this guitar, and just start writing, you know. And so, like everybody who's got an instrument, certainly a guitar, you end up writing that love song to it. More of a thank you for how it was always there for you. You were there when I was falling. You were there when I fell in love. You were there when I was thinking through all them things I was thinking of. You were always right beside me, never out of sight. You turned my never-evers into maybe I just might. Your pearly gates fly open when I bow my head and pray. When my thunder turns to lightning, you rain sunshine on my day. When that melody's in me, I can hear your choir sing. When my fingers find your strings. When I'm left lonesome. You know just how I feel. When I'm down, you come around my corner on two wheels. And every time I tell the truth, you catch me in a lie. And every time I try to run, you just won't let me hide. Your pearly gates fly open when I bow my head and pray. And my thunder turns to lightning, you rain sunshine on my day. When that melody's in me, I can hear your choir sing. When my fingers find your strings. You're the sunrise in my morning, you're the warm wind through the night. You dance me through the darkness and you lead me to the light. You answer all my questions and you finish what I start. And when I'm at a loss for words, you find them in my heart. I hold you oh so carefully, I handle you with care. I never leave without you, I just take you everywhere. We both know I'm less without you, we both know it's plain to see. I ain't holding you, my friend, it's you who's holding me. Your pearly gates fly open when I bow my head and pray. My thunder turns to lightning, you rain sunshine on my day. And that melody's in me, I can hear your choir sing. When that melody's in me, oh, I can hear your choir sing. Melody's in me, oh, I can hear your choir sing. When my fingers find your string. I was in Paris once, and sometimes what happens is when you shoot movies, TV, you get to go places. That's one of the great things about living this kind of gypsy nomadic lifestyle. You know, freelancers that we are, independent contractors. You're going to go to Paris because you have to promote. In this case, it was Looming Tower on Hulu. And you go there and you spend probably a couple of days, maybe. And you don't see Paris, though I did get to go to the Louvre, and I did see the Mona Lisa, which is about, this big. I couldn't believe it. I thought it would be. It isn't. Still great. She's still smiling, but you don't get to see much. You end up, you're in a hotel, you're kind of stuck in there because at 8 a.m. you're doing interviews. You start first interview and you're doing them till you have a break for lunch, which they bring in, and then you go all the way in the afternoon, and then you go to some premiere of whatever it is you're promoting that night. So you don't, it's a working trip. And the time zones are so screwy, the jet lag thing, those of you who do that kind of thing. It's 5 hours, I think. So at 3 a.m. In Paris, it's 10 at night for me. And they were nice. The hotel, they got a guitar in there. for me. So I got to play, I forget what kind it was, but, you know, it stayed in tune. That's all I needed. And I remember sitting out and looking out the window, and it was one of the rooms in the hotel, which was in the back of the hotel, so it looked back and down into an alley, cobblestones, to the street, and a street light, and then a cafe with lights on. Lights were on. Maybe it was a cafe, maybe it wasn't, but suddenly I saw a cafe. And this is that thing where even though you're an actor and you're waiting for the script to come and I need something, you can't wait for that. Use your imagination and just sit there and go, what do you see? And then paint it or write it or play it. And I looked out and I could see things, people. Van Gogh's in the window, Truffaut took the train, Renoir ran an errand and got caught in the rain. It's Ralph Waldo Emerson's first night in France, and Aznavour just a chevalier to dance. Picasso got espresso, Cezanne ordered soup. Sartre wet a napkin and dabbed at his suit. Well, Django played jazz tunes for Charles Baudelaire. Bardo got hit on by Proust and Voltaire. I'm just looking out the window of a fancy hotel room, just a-wondering where the time went under a Paris moon. Beckett bought a bottle of their best Beaujolais. Matisse was ecstatic to be meeting Monet. And Hemingway's hammered, to no one's surprise, said Balzac to Degas with a roll of his eyes. I'm just looking out the window of a fancy hotel room, just a-wondering where the time went under a Paris moon. Jean-Paul Belmondo was questioning God with Marcel Marceau and the Marquis de Sade. Claudine Longet was eyeing Camus when into the cafe came Catherine Deneuve. F. Scott Fitzgerald got lost in a cloud. He crossed out a sentence after thinking out loud. All of a sudden in his signature style, he put pen to paper and wrote with a smile. I'm just looking out the window of a fancy hotel room, and just wondering where the time went under a Paris moon. I can see that alley. One of the great fortunes, lucky breaks, fate, was when I joined Circle Repertory Company. I never wanted to be a director. Marshall W. Mason was the artistic director, and he found me and brought me there to be an apprentice, and then later became an actor there, and whatever approach I have to acting came from Circle Rep. But one of the people I got to meet there that changed me was a playwright by the name of Lanford Wilson. And American theater people, he's a giant in the American theater as a playwright. And I had done his play, Hotel Baltimore, in college, and I'm 21, and I'm from the Midwest, and a small town, and now I'm in New York City, in Greenwich Village, and there's Lanford Wilson sitting in a chair. Hey, doll, how are you? Hi, Mr. Wilson. Hi. What are you doing? He goes, trying to fix a second act. And I got to be in several of his plays. One was called 5th of July, which I did 3 productions, off-Broadway, L.A., and then also on Broadway with Chris Reeve. And I remember off-Broadway, we had these little dressing rooms down in Sheridan Square, and we were in that play for about 6 months. We would run week to week. The reviews were kind of across, they were bad, except for one. Rex Reed wrote, I forget which publication, but he loved it. And so, talk about, this is before social media where you blast everything. We put a sandwich board out in front of the theater with his review on it. And every week, about Thursday, we would see what the advance was on the next week in our little 150-seat theater. And if we had enough of an advance, we weren't closing. And we were week to week for like 6 weeks. John Hogan's a friend of mine, and he was a member of the company, and he was in that play. And Hogan could play guitar, and I knew about 5 chords. And but I was writing, and he was writing, and he'd been writing for years. And I was like, oh wow, I can write songs. And so I would write songs in the dressing room between performances, and they weren't good, at all. And I remember one day I was writing something and playing it in the dressing room. I look up, and there's Lanford's, kind of leaning in the doorway. And this is a guy who would go on to win a Pulitzer Prize for drama, for a play called Tally's Folly. He knew what to do with words. And he's looking at me, and he goes, you write songs? I said, yeah, I do. He goes, let me help. So he handed me a piece of paper, and it had a poem on it about a bus trip that he had taken probably in the mid-'70s from Lebanon, Missouri up to Chicago. And he was I don't know how old he was, but at the time he wrote it, but he was young. But he was always, you're always writing, and he was always writing. And I took that. He was poetry, something. When he wasn't writing a play, and he handed me the thing, and it was called Road Signs. And he said, I don't know if it's a song. It's more of a poem, really, but, see if you can do something with it. And I already revered him, as an artist. I remember him saying, I said, Lanford, you need money, go doctor a screenplay, They'll do three or four drafts with some writer, and then they'll bring in another writer for draft 5, and then they'll bring in another one for 6, and you never get any credit, but you pick up money. He goes, no, movies are bupkis. Wouldn't do it. True artist. And so I went down, and this is 1978. Went down to the piano and banged out some chords, and I went back to the apartment, and I wrote this, 1978. Two 5-year-olds are fighting a gun battle in the aisle. Their mother's been talking about refrigerators for 50 miles. A retired bartender showing photos of his bar. The black girl's wailing and bending our ears to the top 10 tunes for the past 10 years. She's going to Detroit to be a star. She says, when me and my sister strut our stuff, those Motown jivers, they got nothing on us. And I'm a-saying, my. Driver's telling his life story to a sympathetic aunt. He'd like to concentrate on the highway if he can, but he can't. And the grandma says I was married when I was just 15. Bony recruit from Fort Leonard Wood for 3 hours straight's been doing all they could to make a roly-poly bleach blonde named Darlene. He said, I'll write to you if you write to me, and then their hands disappeared past Kankakee. From the flailing around, he was finally getting off, I trust. I'm a saying, my. The country slides by the window. The sun dyes a screaming purple and gold. Thrashers are thrashing and them reapers are reaping. Behind this blue-green glass we're sleeping, past the cedars and houses and rivers and trailers and rock. And does everybody know what's going down when you leave the driving to Greyhound? Our path is littered with lost retreads, abandoned houses and old iron beds. Amber waves of goldenrod, mobile homes and lumber yards, and tent worms eating up the trees, and the motels with no vacancies, and the fact factories making candy bars by the mile-high piles of rusty cars. There's no sign pointing the direction. We're snorting up high-nose confection. Smokestacks are the land's erection, and the voters just ignore election. Pumping gas at every intersection, praying for our next Tex-Mex connection. Whoa, the country slips by the window. The misty morning will burn all beta clouds. Chimneys are stinking and them towns are blinking. Inside this buzz there ain't nobody thinking about the signs of caution, go slow, and radar patrol. And does everybody know what's going down when you leave the driving to Greyhound? Preacher right behind me. He's got a bottle in his hand, and he's mumbling how all them road signs all point straight to the promised land. Through a diesel light and a neon buzz, we chase that setting sun. And then that black chick starts to sing so sweet, and her sister starts to tap her feet. Preacher nods his head and starts to hum. The grandma grins and the driver smiles. We all sing along for the next 10 miles. I guess we're going somewhere if we must. We were singing, my, 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 my. We were singing, my, 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 my. We were singing, my, 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 yeah, singing, my, 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 my. And does everybody know what's going down when you leave the driving to Greyhound? Miss you, Lanford. If you're so inclined, please donate to the Purple Rose Theater Company in Chelsea, Michigan. And if not to them, to your local arts group, organization, because they're businesses too. They're small businesses too. And when people come in, like I was saying earlier, when people come to those places, they tend to look around to see the other stores too. And they stop in and they buy stuff. That's how it works. I'm going to leave you with this one. I don't have anything that speaks directly to COVID-19 and what we're going through. I don't know that I'll write anything about that. It's hard to put your finger on it, to be honest. But I do know that as of today, over 80,000 people are dead. And I wrote a song a while ago about the faceless deaths, the nameless deaths. It's a number that you see on television, but they're people with families. They're old and they're young. This is a song about remembering. I was driving from Vancouver to Michigan all by myself, one of those cross-country trips. Didn't even have my dog with me, you know, John Steinbeck's Travels with Charlie. It's just me. And I decided to take Route 2 across the top of the country. Now, unlike the interstate, Route 2 is one of those roads that doesn't fly by the little towns, goes through them. And you see America when you take those roads. Highway 61 is another one. I was going, driving like 12 hours a day. You know, what else you gonna do? 14 hours. You end up, talking to yourself. Getting in arguments with yourself, There was one day where I wasn't even speaking to myself. And you go by things and you forget them as soon as you go by them. And then there are other things you go by them and you remember them forever. And this is for that 80,000 plus. Somewhere in eastern Montana, out where the crosswind blows, out where the Lord understands you, out where nobody knows, out by the side of the highway, out by turning the road, I saw some flowers on a small white cross. I saw where God called you home. Mile 416, Mile 416, Mile 416. And I can see the sirens screaming down the road. And I can see the tow trucks flashing lights. And I can see your sweet soul letting go into that Montana night. And I can feel the barbed wire hug that broken post. And I can hear the wheat field cry in pain. And I can see the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost riding that great northern train. Mile 416, Mile 416, Mile 416. And I do not know your name, and I will never know you well. But if it's all the same, yours is a tale I will tell. Mile 416. Mile 416. Mile 416.